flag at my main, at 11 o'clock discovered that the pirates had fired 2 of their best schooners, hauled down my white flag, and made the signal for battle, hoisting with a large white flag bearing the words "Pardon for deserters," having heard there was a number on shore from the Army and Navy. At 11:15 o'clock 2 gunboats grounded and were passed agreeably to my previous orders by the other 4 which entered the harbour, manned by my barge and the boats belonging to the grounded vessels, and proceeded in to my great disappointment. I perceived that the pirates abandoned their vessels and were flying in all directions. I immediately sent the launch and 2 barges with small boats in pursuit of them. At meridian, took possession of all their vessels in the harbour, consisting of 6 schooners and 1 felucca, cruisers and prizes of the pirates, 1 brig, a prize, and 2 armed schooners under the Carthaginian flag, both in the line of battle with the armed vessels of the pirates, and apparently with an intention to aid them in any resistance they might make against me, as their crews were at quarters, tompions out of their guns, and matches lighted. Colonel Ross at the same time landed, and with his command took possession of their establishment on shore, consisting of about 40 houses of different sizes, badly constructed and thatched with palmetto leaves. When I perceived the enemy forming their vessels into a line of battle, I felt confident from their number and very advantageous position, and their number of men, that they would have fought me. Their not doing so I regret, for had they, I should have been enabled more effectually to destroy or make prisoners of them and their leaders. But it is a subject of great satisfaction to me to have effected the object of my enterprise without the loss of a man. The enemy had mounted on their vessels 20 pieces of cannon of different calibre, and, as I have since learnt, from 800 to 1,000 men of all nations and colours. Early in the morning of the 20th, the Carolina at anchor, about 5 miles distant, made the signal of "a strange sail in sight to eastward." Immediately after she weighed anchor and gave chase the strange sail, standing for Grand Terre with all sail. At 8:30 o'clock, the chase hauled her wind offshore to escape, sent Acting Lieutenant Spedding with 4 boats, manned and armed, to prevent her passing the harbour. At 9 o'clock a.m. the chase fired upon the Carolina, which was returned. Each vessel continued firing during the chase when their long guns could reach. At 10 o'clock the chase grounded outside of the bar, at which time the Carolina was from the shoalness of the water obliged to haul her wind offshore and give up the chase, opened a fire upon the chase across the island from the gun vessels. At 10:30 o'clock she hauled down her colours and was taken possession of. She proved to be the armed schooner General Bolivar. By grounding she broke both her rudder pintles and made water. Took from her armament, consisting of 1 long brass 18-pounder, 1 long brass 6-pounder, 2 12-pounders, small arms, etc., and 21 packages of dry goods. On the afternoon of the 23rd, got under way with the whole squadron, in all 17 vessels, but during the night 1 escaped, and the next day arrived at New Orleans with my whole squadron. At different times the English had sought to attack the pirates at Barataria, in hopes of taking their prizes and even their armed vessels. Of these attempts of the British, suffice it to instance that of June 23, 1813, when 2 privateers, being at anchor off Cat Island, a British sloop of war anchored at the entrance of the pass and sent her boats to endeavour to take the privateers, but they were repulsed with considerable loss. Such was the state of affairs when on the 2nd of September 1814 there appeared an armed brig on the coast opposite the pass. She fired a gun at a vessel about to enter, and forced her to run aground. She then tacked and shortly after came to an anchor at the entrance of the pass. It was not easy to understand the intentions of this vessel, who, having commenced with hostilities on her first appearance, now seemed to announce an amicable disposition. Mr. Lafitte then went off in a boat to examine her, venturing so far that he could not escape from the pinnace sent from the brig and making towards the shore, bearing British colours and a flag of truce. In this pinnace were 2 naval officers. One was Captain Lockyer, commander of the brig. The first question they asked was, where was Mr. Lafitte? He, not choosing to make himself known to them, replied that the person they inquired for was on shore. They then delivered to him a packet directed to Mr. Lafitte, Barataria, requesting him to take particular care of it and to deliver it into Mr. Lafitte's hands. He now prevailed on them to make for the shore, and as soon as they got near enough to be in his power, he made himself known, recommending to them at the same time to conceal the business on which they had come. Upwards of 200 persons lined the shore, and it was a general cry amongst the crews of the privateers at Grande Terre that those British officers should be made prisoners and sent to New Orleans as spies. It was with much difficulty that Lafitte dissuaded the multitude from this intent and led the officers in safety to his dwelling. He thought, very prudently, that the papers contained in the packet might be of importance towards the safety of the country, and that the officers, if well watched, could obtain no intelligence that might turn to the detriment of Louisiana. He now examined the contents of the packet, in which he found a proclamation addressed by Colonel Edward Nichols in the service of His Britannic Majesty and commander of the land forces on the coast of Florida, to the inhabitants of Louisiana. A letter from the same to Mr. Lafitte, the commander of Barataria, an official letter from the Honourable W. H. Percy, captain of the sloop of war Hermes, directed to Lafitte. When he had perused these letters, Captain Lockyer enlarged on the subject of them, and proposed to him to enter into the service of His Britannic Majesty with the rank of post captain, and to receive the command of a 44-gun frigate, also all those under his command or over whom he had sufficient influence. He was also offered $30,000 payable at Pensacola, and urged him not to let slip this opportunity of acquiring fortune and consideration. On Lafitte's requiring a few days to reflect upon these proposals, Captain Lockyer observed to him that no reflection could be necessary respecting proposals that obviously precluded hesitation, as he was a Frenchman and proscribed by the American government. But to all his splendid promises and daring insinuations, Lafitte replied that in a few days he would give a final answer, his object in this procrastination being to gain time to inform the officers of the state government of this nefarious project. Having occasion to go some distance for a short time, the persons who had proposed to send the British officers prisoners to New Orleans went and seized them in his absence, and confined both them and the crew of the pinnace in a secure place, leaving a guard at the door. The British officers sent for Lafitte, but he, fearing an insurrection of the crews of the privateers, thought it advisable not to see them until he had first persuaded their captains and officers to desist from the measures on which they seemed bent. With this view, he represented to the latter that, besides the infamy that would attach to them if they treated as prisoners people who had come with a flag of truce, they would lose the opportunity of discovering the projects of the British against Louisiana. Early the next morning, Lafitte caused them to be released from their confinement and saw them safe on board their pinnace, apologizing the detention. He now wrote to Captain Lockyer the following letter. To Captain Lockyer, Barataria, 4th September 1814. Sir, the confusion which prevailed in our camp yesterday and this morning, and of which you have a complete knowledge, has prevented me from answering in a precise manner to the object of your mission, nor even at this moment can I give you all the satisfaction that you desire. However, if you could grant me a fortnight, I would be entirely at your disposal at the end of that time. This delay is indispensable to enable me to put my affairs in order. You may communicate with me by sending a boat to the eastern point of the pass, where I will be found. You have inspired me with more confidence than the Admiral, your superior officer, could have done himself. With you alone I wish to deal, and from you also I will claim, in due time, the reward of the services which I may render to you. Yours, etc., J. Lafitte. His object in writing that letter was, by appearing disposed to accede to their proposals, to give time to communicate the affair to the officers of the state government, and to receive from them instructions how to act, under circumstances so critical and important to the country. He accordingly wrote on the 4th of September to Mr. Blanc, one of the representatives of the state, sending him all the papers delivered to him by the British officers, with a letter addressed to His Excellency Governor Claiborne of the state of Louisiana. To Governor Claiborne, Barataria, September 4th, 1814. Sir, in the firm persuasion that the choice made of you to fill the office of First Magistrate of this state was dictated by the esteem of your fellow citizens and was conferred on merit, I confidently address you on an affair on which may depend the safety of this country.